Okay, I'm gonna start us off with the topic this morning. And we're gonna have a conversation, Nellie and I are gonna have a conversation about the imagination of the unreal, or the unreal imagination. And this phrase, I was exposed to it early on in my studies, in my Buddhist studies. And it was really alluding to, if we can imagine it, it exists. And the classic example was a rabbit with horns. It doesn't exist in real life, but we can think about it so it exists. And the other interesting thing about this piece, this phrase, is that it comes from a Sanskrit Mahayana text attributed to Maitreya, who's the Buddha to come, the next Buddha. And right there, we catch the imagination that Maitreya is a very real being, but we don't know him yet because he's coming in the future.
And we could even add to that, we're imagining him. Maybe he won't, what we imagine doesn't always come to be. This teaching is said over and over and over and over and over again. So it starts to feel like Maitreya is going to come.
Yeah.
And what I can say is this teaching certainly has relevance to today. It's not some future
Right.
relevance, but we don't know about the Maitreya, really, right?
I mean, in fact, we are not waiting in some respects. We're really not waiting for Maitreya to come, but we can read texts that are attributed to this being, to this name, to this person. And so I think it's just an interesting example of the imagination of the unreal being real. It's
Right.
something we're here talking about. We really are.
Right. So we really are talking about it, and it really has had an impact on each of us. I mean, that's the other part about it. It's also had a strong impact on me, this teaching. So we'll go into it some more, but we had a very funny experience. So we write these talks on Google Docs, and on Google Docs, there's a little image of who's in the document. Probably most of you know this, but perhaps not all. And tell them what happened with my image this morning.
So usually Nellie comes up as her picture, and I know she's in the document, so I know it's her and I working on it together. And today a monkey came in, and it was an incognito icon that I'm assuming represented Nellie because she was there in the document with me, but her picture wasn't there. She had become a monkey.
Well, unfortunately, I love monkeys, but then we started to play around with this. If I really was a monkey, I truly wouldn't know how to exist in the world. I'd be, completely lost if I turned into a monkey. So it's only fun in the imagination, but if I was to put it into real life, it stops being so fun.
Yeah, and I think too, just it caught us. It was kind of uplifting to find the teaching right there while we were just starting to create the talk and just starting to have a conversation about it. And bam, Nellie shows up as a monkey. And I know it's not true, but it's real. I saw it on my screen.
Yeah. So, what we're saying in a way is imagination is the fodder of creativity, and creativity is uplifting because at that moment, you weren't really concerned that I had turned into a monkey. You weren't really worrying about me, but we were having fun with this. So
Right. And the uplift of creativity, fodder of creativity, also as a folly at times. It could be a mixed bag. It could be, I could have started a conspiracy theory about how people turn into different animals on Google Docs and, gone in a whole different direction.
right, and you shouldn't trust Nelly as the Dharma teacher because she's a monkey. She couldn't give good Dharma talks. You could have started all kinds of things. Luckily, you're not like that.
Yeah, trying not to be. And yes. But a lot of this, what we're taking this morning is from an article by Andrew Oldensky. And he was he is a Buddhist teacher, was part of the Barry Institute for Buddhist Studies. And this was an article he wrote in 2008. So we're going to do some quotes of his and play off of them too.
Yeah. So, but going back to the conspiracy theories, it's an extreme.
Oh,
Although, of course, it's very that's very much happening in our political world right now, and with AI. I mean, it's not exactly off the graph. In fact, it's very on the graph. But it's just sort of saying. I mean, we're saying it as an extreme because we're imagining all kinds of things all the time. That's the nature of having a mind. A mind imagines. And so the task here is to sort through what we've imagined.
Well, and it's I think it's what you're pointing at, Nelly, is the kind of let's say the responsibility we have to sort through some of these, and it's going to be even more confusing when we get things from sources we don't know who to trust. And so we really do need a practice that helps us sort through and discern for ourselves what end of the spectrum things are on or in the middle.
Yeah, and that's a lot of what our practice is about, that kind of discernment.
Yeah.
So going to Andrew Aldensky, a quote, which I think you'll recognize from the teachings if you've been around us very long. This is a lot what we're saying, but I like how he says it. Buddhists regard every moment of consciousness as a synthetic event that is cobbled together out of presenting conditions only to pass away as those conditions change to make way for the creation of a new configuration.
Right. Right. And that kind of it's a beautiful sentence. I think it's so well put, and maybe our experience isn't so linear.
Right. Right. It's not like we have one experience and then boom, you see Nelly as a woman an older woman who looks this way, and then suddenly Nelly becomes a monkey. No, it's not really like that in our consciousness, but it is a synthetic event. I love that word, a synthetic event. And that is cobbled together. I really like those words. See, we're always cobbling them together.
Right. Well, maybe too, for me, when I think of something that's synthetic, I give it a little less credence, or I don't believe it as much, or it feels false. And I think what this teaching is trying to get at is our synthetic events can feel very true and very real. And we really don't know when they're more synthetic or synthetic on the spectrum of, we don't want to pay attention to that as much because it doesn't have as valid meaning. Yeah.
Right. And yeah, we need the synthetic event is not like bad, like there's natural and synthetic. No, synthetic is just saying it's put together, cobbled together.
Cobbled together.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to jump onto the next one? Or okay.
Jump.
Okay. So the conventional wisdom, this is again Andy's words. Conventional wisdom has always been that we would be lost without some kind of transcendent grounding, and that human values, aspirations, and responsibilities would flounder without divine guidance.
That's a challenging sentence or quote there. But I think the Buddha was saying that that we don't have a transcendent grounding, but we do need to develop, and we are in the business of developing human values, aspirations, and responsibilities.
And they're cobbled together out of this.
Cobbled together as best we can in each situation. It changes, doesn't it? Yeah. Our values, aspirations, and responsibilities are different. They're not like one thing.
Right. Right. And it's interesting to try to catch some of those changes, because often, like you said, we don't see you becoming this older person. At one point we go, oh, I'm old, or, oh, something's happened. So along the way, we're not always catching a lot of the changes. They're happening kind of underneath the radar or unbeknownst to us. Yeah.
So my favorite sentence that popped out of this article, popped out at me in my consciousness and my cobbled together consciousness is we have the option of paying attention to the flow of experience and therefore of participating intimately in the manifestations of consciousness. First
We're not,
part, sati, mindfulness, paying
yeah.
careful attention to the flow of experience.
And that we're participating in them. I mean, this isn't just something that we're completely receptive to. We do actually engage in it. We have some choice. We're participating in this flow of experience, which is interesting in a very receptive practice to find that that does develop some choice and some decision to stay with something for a little longer or to come back to it later. And in part of practice, that's what we're trying people to get people to understand is their own choices, their own active choices.
And I like the word intimate in there,
Yeah.
intimately,
Yeah.
participating intimately. It is a very internal but intimate experience.
Yeah. Yeah. So we'll end with the last one.
Oh, I
And
thought this was a good ending, but we could,
oh, I'd like to just end with the last one.
okay, go for it.
We'll end with Andy's words today.
Okay.
Having seen the empty nature of it all long ago, Buddhists went on to organize a way of life around such qualities as kindness, compassion, truthfulness, understanding, and above all, the practices of heightened awareness. These factors are inherently valuable because they contribute to skillful living.
I see some